This is progress. This is what progress looks like. The van's empty. It's like we're starting all over again. But that's not the case. I got a whole crew working with me. I got old George working. I got young George working. I got little George. I got grumpy George. I got happy George. Everybody's working. We got a lot of projects going on. None of them are finished, but I'll clue you in on what's going on.
I installed a set of roof rails by a company called Vantech. They're just fine once they're installed. For what you get, though, I can't justify the high price. I would have made a better set of rails for less money using 80/20. I'll be doing one of my step-by-step instructionals on this project. So here, I'll just give you the basics. Here's how I remove these little plugs. I started by cleaning the track up topside, real nice. I get a piece of wood, rubber mallet, and just pop it till it breaks free and stands up. See that? There's a tendency for the whole apparatus to release from the roof of the van. It pops the whole thing out and it cracks the mushroom top. The last plug in this van is not needed to mount the roof rail. So before I began banging away, I marked it, knowing that if I didn't, I would have blasted it out just like all the rest. And that's a good suggestion for the rest of the install. Once you have figured out the correct orientation of the rails, mark them up to avoid confusion. Now on the underside of the van roof, old George is working on the strut plates. 4 inches wide and only 1/8 of an inch thick. These babies will eventually get covered with the same material as the walls. Between and above these ceiling straps is where I will recess my handmade tongue and groove white pine inlaid with walnut. Once I decided which existing holes I was to use, I drilled them out just a bit larger to accept the 5/16 rib nut. The magnet ring catches almost all of the drill dust and shavings. I screwed the 5/16 bolts into the rib nuts only deep enough that my 4-inch aluminum flat bar stock could fit under the bolt head. Then I marked one side of the bolt using my speed square. I punched all the center locations and began to drill out and shape each piece of flat bar. The flat bar project was a lot of fun, but there's another project going on that is an unfun, necessary interim step. Templates. Wall templates. I knew Grumpy George would end up having fun with this one. He got to use a crayon. See this? You know what this is? It's a crayon. The house is full of them. Still. Baby carriages too. So what I'm doing here is I got to strip away the paper cover on the crayon. I used to do this when I was a kid too. Everyone used to get so mad at me in school. What are you doing that to the crayons for? If you run your hand along that edge, you're going to start to put a crease in the paper. That's what I want. See? So now I'm getting an idea of where these hard edges are. It's almost foolproof. As long as you keep that paper where it belongs, I'm running this crayon right along that edge. Nice hard edge. So the bottom rail of my galley in the back against the wall has a 1.5 by 1.5 member that goes along the wall here. That's where my blinds are going to sit. Remember that? So, in order to get that, strike that line, my 2x2 stock that I used to frame out my cardboard floor plan, the exact same size as the 1.5 inch 80/20.
That was no coincidence. So now, this is where that rail sits. My blinds will be right there. Look how nice this is. I strike my line because this wall is not going to go any further down than this member. Capiche? Ow! I got a splinter. All right, now this is step one. Don't forget, I'm going to be putting this onto cardboard. And at that point, I get to refine it a little further.
After hand-picking each board, I went straight from the lumberyard to my son the renovator's shop in Hoboken. Each of these boards needed an initial planing on both sides to ensure a uniform thickness. Then, I brought them home and cut them down to a more manageable length. Some of these boards will be ripped down the middle to accept a walnut inlay and then more planing. It will be a sectional tongue and groove arrangement, all handmade and grain matched. The insulation layers will be comprised of Reflectix, Thinsulate, and heavy mass vinyl. I'm curious, in what order do you think they should lay?
So I transferred the measurements from the paper to cardboard. I cut it out, and here's what we have. I put these little panels back in just to give you an idea of what this will look like when you got it closed up for the night, or if it's too cold or too hot and you got to put these covers on if the blinds aren't working. So I'll actually use these as my templates for the covers. The thermal covers, they will also be encapsulated. They'll have a nice fabric on the outside, and then they're going to have the heavy mass vinyl and Reflectix on this side. Whole thing will be a wrap. So you put it right in. And this cutout has a 2-inch lip around it, so the ends of the blinds are back in here, riding up and down. It's going to look nice. They're recessed behind this wall. So I did make a mistake over here. If you see this, I have to put I gotta put the cardboard back. Which one is it? This guy? Yeah, I gotta put this back in place and recut it. I'll tape it back and recut it because this high ridge that I was calling for with my grease pencil and crayon, it's in the wrong place. That is not a costly mistake because I'm doing it first with cardboard. 12 inches of tape is all this cost me. So I'll put that back in and I'll fix it and we move on.
I'm going to replace this rear piece of plywood with a couple of fresh cuts. I want a better wrap around that wheel well. Not so good the first time. And my transition onto the shower floor should have a nice sexy curve. Well, it's finally time to commit the floor frame to permanency. But before I do, I want to transfer the position of those frame members to the top of the plywood subfloor. That way, when it comes time to screw down the plywood, I'll know exactly where those frame members are located. I decided the best course of action was 3M 5200, a permanent bond. No screws into the floor of the van, protruding out the bottom, encouraging rust.
I don't like to do or say things that date my videos, but I need to tell you that a week from today, I'm going on a trip with this van. My first stop, Ohio. And you all know what's in Ohio, the mothership. Beyond that, Elkhart, Indiana. Got a lot of good stuff going on with this van. Really exciting stuff. What I'm doing is going to put this van over the top. I cannot wait. It's so exciting. I'm going to be filming the whole way. I'll try to give you some updates. I'm going to be away for close to 3 weeks. But when I get back, whoosh, everything's going to come together and this van will be finished in short order.